All right, it's Why Wells Fail. Another great conversation on protecting the rock, protecting the reputation, producing wells that perform. So today, Lloyd, how you doing?
Steve, it's been a dynamic day getting ready for the holiday coming up Thursday. And man, it's just, I saw we have 34 days left in the year, and that's just like mind boggling, right?
Already, yep. Yep, today's topic is knowing the rock, the first rule of completion. So before you choose a fluid, design a stage, or talk decline curves, you have to start with the only thing that doesn't lie, the rock. Why do you say that, Lloyd?
Well, I mean, your geology is your geology, right? It's when you drill a well and you have the ability to understand that through looking at the cuttings. It's the one thing that is going to let you know is the resource there, and there is, the funny thing is I never understood why they called it arts and sciences, but there are things that are scientific, that are foundational, but the art is how do you interpret it, and making a broad-based claim that something's going to work if you don't understand the foundation that claim's on, then it's a lie. And that's what we've seen a lot over a lot of years is there are great claims made that they know how to give you a product for a well without ever looking at the rock. So that's why we say the rock will never lie to you.
So it's a way of establishing a trustworthy completion strategy based on the name of your process.
The Pathfinder process.
Yeah.
So,
And that comes out of a whole lot of work, a whole lot of observation and data and experience. Tell us, we've talked about it some, but I like to revisit it is like, the whole reason that you're doing this is to imagine investing all this money in a well. They're hiring folks, a team like yours, but you give them advice that doesn't pan out. You've damaged the person's reputation that picked you. You've damaged the reputation of the folks that have shareholders they have to answer to. That's an important thing with Refined.
well, it's everything. I mean, all we ultimately have in this world is our reputation, and good or bad, you can either help um, secure the belief that somebody has about you, or you can prove it not to be true. But no matter what, it's going to be by judging your actions, and your words are shallow until your actions follow up.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's everything.
So you guys have gone the extra mile to demonstrate this by actions, such as your patent.
Absolutely.
A lot of investment and time and thinking behind that. It wasn't just, hey, what about this? That's built on a lot of years of observation.
Yeah, we recognized something. We recognized a benefit, an attribute to a belief about a product earlier, and we said, "Hey, is it a product?" And what we discovered is no, there's not one secret product. It's a process that says, "Hey, all of these things need to happen, and the more that you do them well, the more predictable the result that you get."
Yeah. I love the kind of the thinking about dynamic equilibrium. I'm not a well expert. I'm not a completions expert. I'm not a land man or a mud man or whatever else they call them. But to me, a rock's a rock. But it's not true.
No, I mean, it's all parts of it are unique to what's in that wellbore and what's close to that wellbore. And, understanding how different things are deposited. If you go along the Gulf Coast and you go around, the panhandle of Florida, and you've got these beautiful white beaches, and until it rains. And then you get all this river water coming in, you get all this sediment, and what's really clear goes to really murky and ugly, and then it clears back up. You go to where the Mississippi's always dumping in, and it's what stage of muck is coming in near to the river. And all of these depositional plains, the same thing happened millions of years ago, where these geologies had all this enriched material to make the oil that we're burning today. And so the arrogance of believing it's all the same over hundreds and thousands of miles and on different continents and on different shelves, they're different. But you know what? There's one thing that we learned, Steve, and this is part of the key. And I say we learned, it's the foundation that we're coming from the origination of looking at this geology, is there's three primary components. There's quartz, there's carbonates, and there's clays. And the measurement of those three things, it doesn't care where you are in the world. When we measure that, it's going to tell you the truth about what that geology is. And then from that, we're able to build a prediction on how it's going to respond when we frack it. And then at that point, we understand, all right, under this environment, this is what's going to be released, either CO2 or H2S, unless we take these actions that we discovered in our patent and we suppress that response, which we're calling dynamic equilibrium. But it all begins and ends with understanding what that rock looks like, or that rock looks like in a specific area where we're counting on the commonality of the deposition to be the same. And so it's just a process. It's not complicated, but there's a lot to it.
And that's why you say know the rock.
Know the rock.
Then the way that you're measuring the whether you know your rock or not is by monitoring the water.
Yeah. So after we frack, the first thing that says we kept our promise is what the water, the minerals or lack thereof, the acid gas or lack thereof that's in the water is going to tell us were we successful or not. Many times days and weeks before we ever see our first hydrocarbon. And so another part of it is if we see hydrocarbon, especially in unconventional geology, really early, we're like, uh-oh, something's not right. And so you have to have key performance indicators that help you understand whether or not you're keeping your promise or that your prediction is coming true.
I was thinking about this dynamic equilibrium. You take something that's static and you go frack it and you create this disturbance. Now we're going to bring it back into a rhythm. You've been to those Harley rallies. I used to really enjoy watching the folks. They'd put those motorcycles up on those dynamos.
Yeah.
And they start running them, and then they fine tune them. I kind of get that picture of that's what's going on downhole.
That's a cool way to think about it. It's funny you mentioned that. So you can run a vehicle too rich, right? And it won't go anywhere. And that's the same thing. You can over stabilize the geology and you bring it back into actual equilibrium, which means everything's staying the same and you're not going to get the oil out of it. And that's why dynamic equilibrium is different. We're tuning it. We're tuning the response so it'll give up that resource, create that revenue stream, and something that is providing the return on investment to the shareholders, but secondarily, how do we create the opportunity for recognition of doing it the right way and suppressing the production of CO2 and providing credits to the marketplace, because you're never going to have to dispose of it. It stayed where it's supposed to.
I think about the days when you remember the STP bottles, the nice little red STP. It's like, you just buy this, pour it in there, and then everything's going to be better. And that's kind of the old way of the fracking industry. Is like, buy this off the shelf, pour it in there, but you have to put them into action. You have to put them in dynamic equilibrium and monitor what they're doing, and then fine tune it in. And that's what I'm thinking of when we talk about the Pathfinder process.
It's a very good layman's way to explain what we're doing. Yes.
Yeah. So this is significant. You have some companies that are partnering with you. What are you most excited for these companies? How's the next year going to look for them compared to what they've experienced in the past?
Yeah. One comment that was made is that we've done everything to really optimize the operations at the surface. So we know what we can do. We know what we can do with speed. But the next frontier is optimizing the results from the well itself downhole. And, that's where it goes back into the very beginning of this conversation today. If you're doing what somebody else is doing, just because they're doing, does it make it right? Are you trusting that they've done all the work? Or are you just staking your reputation and the performance of your company based on what another operator says is the right thing for them? And that's why we always come back to know the rock. They may have something that's unique, and their process may be providing them with the expected results that they need, but is that really what you want? And it's funny. It used to be the smaller operators that would use that as a result. But as we've seen our industry transition, it's somewhat, the manufacturing models become a place of security. And we see it as the greatest opportunity to now provide a higher level of a bespoke or a tailored solution that's based on what really is going on in the rock. It's kind of like, do you want to grab the one size fits all? When I was a kid, my dad wore one of those onesie suits,
Like
didn't matter skinny or fat. They just got in them, they zipped them up, they clipped their little metal belt, and it was one size fits all. They rolled up the length of the pants and off to the races you went. That doesn't work here.
That's pretty funny. It's true.
It's true. It doesn't work here.
We have competition. We've got a couple of vectors coming in and meeting here. We need to be more efficient, provide more return on investment of our materials, our setup, maximize the oil that's coming out. But you've got pricing pressure, you've got business management pressure, you got a lot of things kind of coming into this, and you guys are offering a better expectation of what can be done now because of all you got to perform. You can't just guess on these. You guys are offering a way for them to understand and make more informed decisions. That's exciting.
Well, Steve, what you just explained is the definition of clarity. if you're just doing it the way that others have done it and you're being told that this is why you do it, and trust me, that's not clear. That's opaque. That's because you don't understand the why. Just trust me is not a why. It ends up damaging relationships. Trust needs to be earned. It needs to be, there's a place of saying, yes, what you're doing, how you're doing this is intuitive. It makes sense, and it's based on sound science. And in this case, a patent, which is a statement of fact through law. Okay. So we're not guessing. And because of that, we have a clarity that nobody else has. And what we just have to do is reveal what we've learned. And we love folks going, hey, that makes sense. Let's go deep here, because we have something now to measure against.
Talk a little bit more about statement of law.
Well, when something's being done, this is a patent is an establishment of fact that it's gone through a validation verification process. And in this case, we're not talking about a specific chemistry. We're talking about a method. And we're talking about math, and we're talking about the foundation of science, and we're talking about a review by the most stringent of courts, which is the German patent office. And we went there specifically because they're known to be the most diligent in the world at looking at these things. And what they found is that there is no prior art, there is no prior thought to what we're doing anywhere in the world. And they validated all of the scientific methods, the steps, the processes that we presented within that. And they said, we're issuing this statement of fact, this patent, that you have the only method to measure and suppress the production of CO2 and H2S in the world.
And no matter what the rock.
No matter what the rock, but it matters that you know the rock.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you're telling me that, and I'm thinking I can take this method and whatever my geology is, I can apply this process, and then know how to plan a successful well completion.
Correct.
So therefore, that's why you always say know the rock.
Know the rock.
I mean, seems like all the rock in the Permian Basin would be the same, but it's not true.
It's not true. And again, it goes to the law of horizontal deposition and what was happening in the geologic age of that deposition. And, the Delaware Basin, it's like a layer cake. There's probably 11 productive zones. I've heard some speak that there's 14. I don't know what it is, but I know when we're doing different analytics in different areas, there are differences that can be seen, but there's also similarities. And so, the gleanings and learnings from one part of a producing region can be applied in others when you're measuring those three specific components of clay, quartz, and carbonate. And so, but they're all unique. And one of the really awesome things is now that we're measuring how much CO2 potential resides in that geology upon disruption, we're really seeing the differences. So it's a lot of fun. It's never a boring day. Ever. Never, ever boring.
So we're talking CO2 a little bit more than we did last season. By the way, we're in season 2. Where are we going with this conversation about CO2?
Well, if you don't produce it, you don't have to find a place to put it. You don't have to deal with it in your production. So where we're going with this is, what are the benefits of leaving it in the ground? And it's lower operating cost. It's lower mechanical impacts, corrosion, scale. And we're in the process of validating the ability for a company to say that we're creating a value in the carbon market and getting the validation of saying that this is worth an exchange for folks that are generating high levels of carbon in their industries, and they want to purchase in the open carbon market credits, that we're helping our customers become somebody that can supply that rather than just be a consumer of carbon credits.
It's exciting that this patent process, this Pathfinder process, is revealing other ways to be beneficial, not just in your typical thinking, just like this process of knowing the rock. Now we're starting to venture into other benefits.
Absolutely.
All right, Lloyd, we got Thanksgiving coming up. Any other last words of wisdom?
I always think about Hill Street Blues, or wasn't that what it's called?
Yeah.
And he's like, be careful out there. Right now it's time to, as we're going to celebrate with our families and there's a lot of traveling going on, we need to be careful out there. And, as we have team members out serving while others are celebrating with their family, we need to, for me, I'm grateful for those that choose to serve during these times. And that's it. I'm grateful for our team, and I'm grateful for our clients, and I'm grateful for the country that we live in.
Yeah, amen. So maybe I've been listening. Maybe I'm planning my 2026. I need to consider what refined completions has to benefit us. What's the best way to talk to you about that?
Refinedcompletions.com or lloyd.brown@refinedcompletions.com. And our handle here on Refined Seed Lloyd B. Boy, I have trouble. I don't know why that one's always been so hard, but we look forward for folks to reach out, and thank you to those that have been. We have really, we're having a lot of really dynamic conversations right now.
Awesome. It's a good time to be refined. All right. Another great episode of Why Wells Failed. Lloyd, we'll holler at you next week. And that's a wrap.